Good evening, dear judges, dear audience. I'm so glad to meet you again here today. And now I'm going to talk about how I'm going to conduct this course. And first of all, I would like to talk about the general design of this course. The students are meant to be the college senior students, and the course is a Chinese to English translation course. And the purpose of this course are, first of all, to correctly ask the students to understand the purpose of the writer, and secondly, to practice deverbalization in translation, which means they should not just be constrained by the structure of the sentence or be constrained by the wording of the passage. And the method of the teaching is, first of all, I would like to interact with the students. And the first thing I would like to do is to ask the students to analyze the message and try to translate the passage. And secondly, I would like to ask other students to try to make comments on the translation that was given. And to make the comments on the student translation, I would like to focus specifically on analyzing the message of the text and to try to practice deverbalization, try to ask the students to practice deverbalization. And afterwards, at the end of the course, I would like to summarize the problems in message analysis and deverbalization that I found out in the class. That something that actually the students had some problems, and I will try to analyze those problems of the students. And then now I'm going to show how I'm going to help them to analyze this passage and to translate this passage. And first of all, if you take a look at this passage, I would like to notice one thing. First of all, it is written as a prologue, as 译者自序, which actually means this is something that happened in the past. So I'd like to give the precondition to the students that basically when you translate this passage, it should be used in past tense instead of present tense. This is something that I should remind them at the very beginning of this class. So when we try to analyze this passage, first of all, we try to analyze the first message given by the writer. And we then take a look at the first sentence. 于译此类书之宗旨，第一在于求最大可能之范围内保持原作之神韵。I think we should end here, although in the passage it was a comma, but it has already formed a complete sense. And then I would like to ask my students to tell me how are they going to translate this part. And of course, just like what we said, we should keep in mind the deverbalization, which means we should be constrained by this kind of wordings or sentence structures. Because a lot of students are quite afraid of this kind of text because they believe this kind of text is written not in the modern Chinese language, which would be rather difficult. And I would ask them, what do you think that means? Try to figure out what that means before you translate. So actually that means 于译此类书, which means the author, when the author was trying to translate this kind of book. 之宗旨, 宗旨 here was actually the principle. It's not the mission, it was not the purpose. Actually, when you take a look at the whole text, you will find out this is the principle that he was executing in his translation works. The first thing is to 最大可能范围内保持原作之神韵. So, but what is 神韵? 神韵 actually here is the essence of this book. Try to keep the essence of this book. And 最大可能之范围内, what does that mean? Actually, that means as much as possible, or to the largest extent. Therefore, you can translate it as this. The first principle of my translating this kind of book was to keep the essence of the original works as much as possible, or you can work it like that. The first principle of my translating this kind of book was to keep the essence of the original works to the largest extent possible. So in this way, we started to translate the first sentence with the students. And then we take a look at the second sentence. 必不得已而求其次. Actually, when I asked the students to analyze this part of the sentence, 必不得已而求其次, this was kind of repetition in Chinese. You can just either translate it as 必不得已 or 求其次. That will be okay. because when we were talking about deverbalization, we try to express the message instead of keeping in line with the words or sentences. 必以名小之字句 What does 必以名小之字句 means? Which means you try to make the meaning of the sentence very clear. So that is the meaning of that. 忠实传达原文之意趣 So what is 意趣? Actually, 意趣 here means the message. And of course, this is not the only place we have a message. When you take a look at the next sentence, 务必使作者之命意豁然显露. 命意 here can also be translated as message as well, when you examine that in the context. So this sentence can be translated like this. If that was not achievable, I would do my best to make the meaning of the words and the sentences as clear as possible in order to convey the message of the original works. So, 必不得已 必不得已 which means that was not when that was not achievable, when I could not actually follow the structure, follow the sentence structure, then I will try to express the meaning. And then we come to the third sentence. 而于逐字逐句对照时之应意，则未敢赞同。That means for this kind of mechanical translation, mechanical literal translation, I cannot agree with that. But you will try to make it as good sentence in English as possible, then that could be, however, I could not endorse the approach of sentence by sentence translation. Or you can make it into, however, I could not endorse the approach of mechanical literal translation, that is sentence by sentence. So this is the third part of the sentence. And as for the fourth sentence, 凡与原文中与中国语法不合之处，往往再四咀嚼，不惜全部更易原文之结构. I think that is one part of the message. So when you take a look that 不合之处, what does 不合之处 means? You can say this when this is not in line with the Chinese grammar, or when that is in disagreement with the Chinese grammar. And then 往往再四咀嚼, when that means I think very hard on that. I thought very hard on it, or I was pondering on it to try to figure out how to solve this problem. So we can translate it like this. When the grammar of the source text was not in line with or in disagreement with that in Chinese, I would not dare to completely change the structure of the source text, thinking very hard on it or pondering on it. So the students may ask me, 往往再四咀嚼 in the original source text in Chinese was put before 不惜全部更易原文之结构, but why you would like to put it after 不惜全部更易原文之结构? Because when you try to analyze the message and try to put that into English, you will try to find out which part was actually more important. Actually, what the author wanted to say was that when the grammar was in disagreement, he would like to change the sentence structure. Of course, how did he do that? Was by pondering very hard on that. Therefore, changing the sentence structure was actually more important, and then it is put in the main clause. So that was mainly about this course. And after that, of course, when interacting with students, I would find out a lot of the problems of the students and try to help them to think through on that and try to help them to make improvement accordingly. And that is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm going to ask you two questions. And as we can see on the screen that you have this sentence, the original is 往往再四咀嚼，不系全部更易原文之结构。它不系全部更易原文之结构。你这里的译文是什么？ I would not dare to completely change the structure of the source text.
Yes, Professor.
Do you think that's a correct translation? Does that mean the same thing then?
不系, which means that he would not dare to change the sentence structure, as far as I'm concerned here. And of course, maybe there are other versions, and if there's a better version, I would really want the professor to enlighten me a little bit.
No, here it means the opposite, right? He would change the structure of the original in order to make the meaning explicit as possible.
Completely change the structure of the...
He would not hesitate in doing that, in changing the structure. Your translation here is, he would not dare to do that.
I would dare to. Sorry.
Anyway, okay.
Time is very limited, so...
All right. And then about your teaching. One of your objectives is really to show the students the importance of deverbalization, right? If you call it a strategy of deverbalization when dealing with this kind of text. But how do you know at the end of the class that you have achieved your goal? That is you have helped the students understand the importance of deverbalization, and also they can actually use this strategy in their translation.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor, for your question. Maybe at the first several sentences, the students were not able to do that, because if it is the first time they get to understand deverbalization, maybe they are not going to deverbalize immediately. But after showing them several examples, maybe they start to try to understand that. And I will ask them to further do some translation and to see whether they have already got the essence of deverbalization. And then if they have not yet got that, and I would really want to further help them and try to show them examples, what is deverbalization.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation. The thing is, we have not seen that in your design here. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.